Hello dear friends, dear chess lovers, Jim is here with you, and here I will show you what happened in a very interesting game against strong grandmaster Anand Hambleton, who was not doing very good in this tournament. I was playing with white, and there is a strategy how to play against someone who is not doing a good job in the tournament, because he loses some confidence definitely, and how to try to win such games against such situation in such situations. And the strategy is this: when you are playing with someone who is not going good in the tournament, try to avoid any opening confrontation and try to go to the long game, because he's probably tired, he's not in a mood to play chess, and when you go to long game, more chance that some moment opponent will get nervous and do some mistakes. While if you go some opening confrontation, maybe in the openings he has preparation, the game becomes like equal. So some pieces are changed and there are not much room left for mistakes. So in such cases you should go to long game, try to avoid any opening confrontation, try to keep pieces, and somewhere opponent probably will do some mistakes because he is not doing good in the tournament and he is not enough confident probably. So in the opening I went to e4. I decided to go with our ChessMood openings. Anyway, I was not going very well too. I couldn't fight anymore for the first 3 prizes in the tournament, so I decided to go e4 with our ChessMood openings. e4, e6, d4, d5 and bishop d3, moves that I showed in the courses. And here my opponent, after thinking, he played knight c6. And now on this moment I was not sure if he is prepared, so he knew about ChessMood and our courses, or he just played knight c6. And in my analysis here I analyzed c3 move. The idea of knight c6 is to attack the d4 pawn, developing the knight, attacking the d4 pawn, and if I play c3, protecting the d4 pawn, opponent wants to play e5 and open the center. Also knight c6 idea, if I play here knight f3, protecting the d4 pawn and developing my knight. Here opponent just play knight b4 and then try to change my knight bishop on d3. So after knight c6 I remembered that my analysis is c3, but as I said, in such games you should avoid opening confrontation, and here I decided to go to the long game and implemented the idea which I had in my mind a long time ago. I played knight f3, knight b4 and knight c3. Well, I give this bishop on d3, but here I developed already 2 knights, knight c3, knight f3, while my opponent spent 1, 2, 3 moves for changing my bishop. And after knight d3, in my mind again I had 2 ideas: to take queen d3, which looks very usual move. But the problem of queen d3 is that the opponent will take d4. This is important move, d4, because next move if I put e5, then opponent bishop on c8 will be not very good. He's blocked with his pawns. So black should play here d4, knight e4, some knight f6, and then b6, bishop b7, bishop e7. And here this is still a very interesting position. Looks white is better, but black is getting very easy game. Bishop is coming, b6, bishop b7, bishop e7, short castle, or even some moment maybe even long castle. Black has easy game. So I had lots of choices for white. I should decide what I'm doing. Instead of that, here I decided to go to a very interesting, at first glance, very strange move. But here, when I will explain the idea of this cd3, very strange take, everything I hope will be much clearer. So what's the idea of this strange cd3 move? The idea is to play against bishop on c8, because now the opponent take d4 as if we take with queen. Now after d4 we take d4, and now we have a strong center. So c2 pawn come to e4, and now d4 and d4 pawn giving me a strong center, and with compensating it opponent's 2 bishop. And after knight d3, next move I am trying to go e5. Yeah, I have here double pawn, but opponent has bishop on c8, which is bad. Usually in French defenses, whenever whites play e5, black's idea is to play c5. So let's say knight f6, e5, knight d7. Yeah, I go short castle. Most of the time, black's idea is to go c5 to get some counter chances in the queenside. This is go after usual French, advanced line e6, d4, d5. When we put the pawn on e5, always black counterplays c5 and attack the d4 pawn. In our case, we have here double pawns, but after, let's say, knight f6, c5, knight d7, short castle. After c5, I will not have any more double pawns. I will just take dc5, bishop c5, d4, and I have no double pawns. Additionally, knight f6 has problem. I will play e5, knight d7, and in French, always is very important for black the dark square bishop, because any moment black plays c5, this d6 pawn square will become very weak. Also, if there is not this bishop, dark square bishop on e7, after short castle, black king will be under danger. So here it's allowing me to play bishop g5, attacking the queen, and after bishop e7, I will change the bishops. And after short castle, here, for example, c5 is problematic move, because knight b5, knight is going to d6. So you see how bad now is the bishop on c8. And one more thing, after cd3, it's opening for me the line for my rook c1, which might put some pressure also in the queenside. And one more thing, after cd3, somewhere, if not queen is not on e7, yeah, I can play b4. At the moment, if the b4 pawn is not free, I may even put pressure on the queen side using this c line for future. And all the strategy is based on my opponent's bad bishop on c8. And the last thing, after cd3 here, I am giving my opponent lots of choice, which is very good in these cases. Yeah, I forgot to say one more thing. Hambleton, during the old tournament, he was thinking a lot, and he was in time trouble very much. And against such players is very good to give them lots of choices, because when there are lots of choices, they will think, and then they will find themselves in time trouble, and which we will use in future. Now opponent should decide what to do: to go b6, bishop a6, to go b6, c5, to go c5 immediately, to go d4, and then c5, trying to open the center, to play knight f6, and after e5 to go knight d7 back. So lots of choices, and in really my opponent thought here a lot and played c6. At first glance, this is again a strange move, because opponent has a bad bishop on c8, and why he's putting his all pawns on light squares. But the thing of the c6 idea, opponent wants to develop his bishop to d6 and knight on e7. Why he does this? Because if knight e7, knight closes the bishop on f8, and if black plays here bishop d6, knight e7, after bishop d6 I will play e5, attacking the bishop on d6. And the idea of c6 is next move to go bishop d6, and if e5, bishop stays on c7. So I went short castle, bishop d6, rook e1. I played quite fast. This cannot be bad move. This is a very useful move. So rook e1, knight e7. Now my opponent's idea, if I go e5, bishop c7, now looks like after short castle, king may be in danger. But strangely enough, opponent's next move going to play f6. So let's suppose I just put some moves for me. Let's say I go to the queen side. Opponent will play f6, and after ef6 he will not take rook f6, because if rook f6 I will put my knight on e5, blocking the bishop on c8, here blocking the e6 pawn, and knight on e5 is very strong. So opponent, because of bishop on c8, has problems. But instead of that, after f6, ef6, opponent took gf6. Look like this is weakening opponent king on g8, but in real no. First of all, it's coming knight g6 and e5, taking the center, opening two bishops. Additionally, somewhere after king h8, rook g8, I may have problems with g line. And here my pawns are really very bad. So this is idea of my opponent when he played here c6. He wants to play bishop d6, knight e7, short castle, and if any moment I go e5, opponent wants to play f6. So I thought rook e1, it cannot be wrong, because anytime after e5, bishop c7, and he plays somewhere f6, I play ef6, I put pressure here on e6 pawn. So rook e1, knight e7, and now I should decide where I'm going, which plan to choose. And here I decided to go bishop g5. Idea of bishop g5 is next move to go queen d2, bishop f4, and change the dark square bishop. because the pawn structure of opponent is c6, d5, e6. So opponent has bad bishop on c8 and good bishop on d6, which protects the dark square. So changing the dark square bishop d6 will be very good for me. First, opponent's dark square will become weak. Second, opponent never will have this two bishop advantage. Right now it doesn't feel because the center is closed, but in future these two bishops has potential to become very strong if the center is opened. So my idea was to play queen d2, bishop f4, and change this dark square bishop. Now he could play short castle, queen d2, and next move I'm playing bishop f4, changing this dark square bishop, after which I will decide whether I go to the king side or I go to the queen side with a3 b4 plan. So all my strategy is again against this bishop on c8. Opponent after bishop g5 played f6. This was anyway in his plan. Bishop h4, short castle. Now if I go e5, opponent doesn't take fe5 because after knight e5 it will be the same thing which we discussed already. I have strong knight on e5 blocking the e6 pawn, which is weakness already, and bishop on c8 is very bad. But after e5 my opponent was going to play just bishop c7, next move knight g6 with tempo on bishop h4. That was the idea of my opponent when he played f6, made me to play bishop h4, so knight g6 will come with tempo. And if he f6 again, he just take gf6, then knight g6, e5. Opponent will have very strong center, it's two bishops opens, and after king h8, rook g8, it will be an interesting question whose king is weaker, opponent king on h8, this g line, or my king, which after rook g8 will put big pressure on my king on g1. So after bishop h4, short castle, I just played queen d2, not showing my cards where I'm going, e5, or I'm going to play a3 b4. Also with queen d2 I didn't tell my opponent yet if I'm going to play now bishop g3 and change this dark square bishop now. Opponent played bishop d7, and here I decided to play one more waiting move, rook ac1. This was a very practical move. Why I played rook ac1? Because I thought I asked myself first question: what is my opponent's next move? Bishop d7 is look like my opponent want to play bishop e8, bishop h5. But the thing, if I simply play same move, yeah, after bishop e8 I will have e5 move. And the thing is now if bishop goes again back, here I take ef6, gf6, and take opponent a pawn on e6. That's why was my idea when I played rook fe1. So I felt like any moment this rook on e1 will be very useful, as you see in this case, e6 pawn is hanging. And after rook ac1, now it's unclear what to do for my opponent, because if bishop e8, e5 is coming, and then e6 pawn is hanging, and your opponent again has lots of choice. He can play some move in the queen side like a5 to not allow me to play in future a3, b4. He can go king h8, he can go g5, he can go knight g6. So again, this rook ac1 was very practical move, maybe not the best move in the position, but it's very good in such cases to give option for opponent, so he will think more and get himself in time trouble. And this happened in real game 2. Opponent thought here 20 minutes. So even if rook ac1 is not the best move, maybe second move, yeah, best move in the game, rook ac1, if opponents think here 20 minutes, I am fine with this. Here he played rook c8, again a waiting move. But here there is one very deep difference. If I play here bishop g3, changing the dark square bishop, which was my plan. Here he takes bishop g3, hg3, and play bishop e8. So with this maneuver, opponent is trying to solve the problem of bad bishop on c8. Here the thing I play knight, if I play knight e2, opponents play bishop h5, knight f4. Now looks like I attacked opponent bishop on h5, I attack opponent pawn on e6. But here he takes bishop f3. Now if I take gf3, he will take play queen d7, and here I have very dubious pawn structure with double pawns here and with my king here. And the tactic with knight e6, at first taking the pawn, attacking the queen, and then take gf3, and if queen d7, I take knight f8, rook with tempo on queen on d7. Here opponent could just go queen c8, and after knight f8, because if gf3, opponent takes my knight. After knight f8, opponents play here bishop h5 back, and now my knight on f8 is trapped. But look what happening after bishop d7, rook c1, rook c8. Here I already play bishop g3, because if you now do the same idea, we take bishop e8. I play knight e2. And after bishop h5, knight f4. Now this tactic works for me, because after bishop f3, knight e6, rook is on c8. So there is no more queen c8 move. If queen d7, attacking my knight on e6, I will take knight f8, opponent's rook with tempo on queen on d7, and after rook f8, gf3, I am exchange up. And after knight e6, if queen d6, again I take knight f8, bishop h5, bishop trying to go back and trap my knight on f8. But now I have here a strong move e5, opening my rook on e1 and trying to save my knight on f8. And after e5, d5, really I am saving my knight, because if queen goes over here, my knight will come back from e6. And queen cannot go anywhere to protect the e6 square, because queen g6 is impossible, my knight is there, queen h6 is impossible, my queen is there. So next move with knight e6, I survived my knight. That's the idea after bishop d7 when I played rook ac1, this tricky move, asking my opponent what is your move. Because rook ac1, it's a useful move. Some moment I will play knight a4, knight c5 too. And now after rook c8, I play bishop g3 and change the dark square bishop. After bishop g3, hg3, opponent has no time for bishop e8, bishop h5. I play knight e2, knight f4 and attack the e6 pawn. And now my opponent thought and did an interesting idea, h6. His idea is to go h6, g5, knight g6, king g7. This looks like weakening opponent king on g8, but in real no, because center is very closed. I cannot open it. I have here double pawn. And after g5, knight g6, king g7, some moment even opponent can start attack with rook h8, h5, h4. But now, when there are not dark square bishop, I am starting interesting plan in the queen side. My plan is to go b4, a4, a5, knight a4, knight c5. Knight will stay on c5 very strong, attack the b7 pawn, attack the e6 pawn. So we'll put a big pressure on the queen side. And if opponent any moment play a5, for example, I just go knight a4. A b4, queen b4, now b7 pawn becomes weak. Next move I'm playing rook b1, knight c5, attacking the b7 pawn. And if it touches this pawn, let's say b5. Now after knight c5, I have very strong knight on c5. Opponent has a weak pawn on c6, weak pawn on e6. While my weakness is here on d3, d4, he cannot use because the position is closed. So after h6, b4, g5, he continues his plan, a4, king g7, a5. Knight g6, knight a4. Now my knight is going to c5, and the opponent decided to go b6, not allow misses. But now I'm playing rook a1. Now my plan is to take a b6, open this a line, go knight c3 back, go rook a7 or rook a6, rook a1, queen a2, and then in future use this a line and the opponent's potential weakness on b6. And when opponent has a weak pawn here on b6, it's for opponent gonna be not easy to attack my king on g1. Let's say he played g4, knight h2 and h5, trying to go rook h8, h5, rook h8, h4 and start attack. I just take here knight c3, and after rook h8 I enter rook a7. And with this strong rook on a7, queen is here to protect the bishop on d7. So black will never manage any attack if the queen, the most important piece of opponent, is here protecting the bishop d7. And also with this very bad bishop on d7, without queen which can attack because he's protecting the bishop on d7. Next move I'm playing rook a1, knight a4. Opponent will not have any chance to attack here my king on g1. Additionally, if h4, I will just take this free pawn. And after rook a1, now my opponent was already in time trouble, as we just played 20 moves, and for another 20 moves he has left for just 15 minutes. And here he decided to go c5 and try to change some pieces and pawns and to equalize position and to make some draw. But there was one thing which my opponent missed after c5. Black's idea is after bc5, he cannot take bc5, I will take just knight c5 and pawn up. His idea is after bc5 at first to take bishop a4, my knight on a4, and after rook a4 then to take bc5. But there is one big problem for black. So after c5 I take a b6 first, opening my rook a line, as this will be useful for me. A b6, a b6, a bc5. Now if bc5, so I'm just pawn up. And after bishop a4, rook a4, bc5, I take dc5. rook c5. Now looks like it's equal position. I have 5 pawns here, opponent has 5 pawns here, and it should be draw somewhere. But opponent has big problem now with e6 pawn and square same time. I played knight d4, and now after knight e6, all opponent pieces are hanging. King, queen, rook, rook. And next move I want to take e d5, and after which opponent cannot run the same time all 4 pieces from these squares. If king run knight e6, then queen and rooks are hanging. If king and queen runs, then these 2 rooks will hang. And now after knight d4, opponent having a problem with e6 pawn. If he takes d4, he cannot play, sorry. If he play queen d7, yeah, queen d7 protecting the e6 pawn and attacking my rook on a4. Now I take e d5. And after queen a4, knight e6 check, and next move I take opponent knight on rook on c5, and I am 2 pawns up. So knight d4, and opponent has big problems. Next move I take e d5, and knight e6, opponent will lose exchange or pawns as minimum. He played rook e8. Interesting move, strong move. Idea is after e d5, opponent wants to take queen d5. And now queen run from d8, then from danger, and also from d5, queen protects the e6 pawn. Here after rook e8, I had different ideas. I could play rook a6, rook a7, queen b4, so I had lots of options. And here I spent lots of time. I scanned all my options, chose what kind of moves I have, and at the end I decided to go here queen e3, which looks very strong. What's the idea of this queen e3? It looks like my queen is staying against this rook on e8, but in reality it is very strong. First of all, opponent knight on c5 is hanging, rook on c5 is hanging. I want to play a knight e6 check, and after rook e6 to play queen c5 exchange up. Also I want to play knight f5 check with same idea, and after ef5 to take the rook on c5. And what I'm doing with queen e3, next move I want to play e d5, if rook moves somewhere, yeah, and after queen d5 I take already the e6 pawn. So let's say rook c7, e d5, queen d5. In the previous case, queen was protecting the e6 pawn. In this case, when I have additionally queen on e3, now I just take this pawn. And I'm pawn up, and also I'm taking this exchange. So knight d4, rook e8, queen e3, multifunctional move. Rook c5 is hanging after knight e6, knight f5, and I am again wanting to play e d5 and then knight e6. Opponent played queen d7, protecting the e6 pawn and taking my rook on a4, but now it's coming rook a6. And again, now I want to play e d5 and knight e6, and again knight f5, knight e6, and then next move to take queen c5, opponent rook on c5. If here rook c7, then e d5, and next move knight e6 check, opponent is losing material. So opponent played rook c8. The idea after rook e d5, he is not losing any material because rook is not c7. But after rook c8, here I have a nice tactic. You can pause the video and find it. Well, I'm very happy for you if you found it. So rook a7, a simple, nice move. Here opponent here loses the queen. The idea is after queen a7 I just take knight e6 check, and after rook e6, queen a7 I win opponent's queen. And after rook a7, if you place here rook c7, I just take it, and then e d5, and there is a pin. Opponent cannot take e d5, and next move I'm taking e6, 2 pawns up with winning position. So after rook a7, my opponent decided to go to give the queen, knight e6, king e8, queen a7, rook e7, queen d4, de4. Now I have queen and pawn against rook and knight, and because there are not enough material, my opponent will try to make fortress, and which is very real. Here I was not sure really if it's winning, or even it's winning. I knew that it will be not very easy. And here opponent still was in time trouble. I played rook e8, f3, protecting the e4 pawn, knight e5, rook a1, rook d7, attacking my queen on d4, queen b6, rook f7, opponent is waiting for me, and here I could change the rooks. This is very logical, because after changing the rooks, one pair of rook, my king can come and join to try to push these pawns. And from another point, I could play something like rook a6 and try to keep these rooks, not change the rooks. And somewhere maybe f4, e5, open this 6th rank, and maybe to put some, make some threats here for my opponent. Oh, I'm sorry. Knight d7 he played, queen d4, knight f8. Knight is going to g6, also opponent is just waiting. f4, f4 trying to go e5 and open my opponent king on g7, and rook e6. Here opponent wants to take rooks to change rooks himself. Here I could take rook e6, but I decided at first to keep it, rook a8, but rook a8 somewhere to go queen d8 or e5, yeah. But after rook fe7, I realized that no, I need to change these rooks. It's hard to go without rooks, so I just play rook a4. If you play rook a4, now I will just give my queen to 2 rooks, and now this position rook against knight is theoretically lost for black. So rook a4, rook d7 he played, rook a7. Finally I decided to change the rooks. Rook a7, take, queen a4. Queen is staying on a4, he protects the e4 pawn and also not allowing knight g6 move. Oops, knight g6 because knight is protecting the d7 rook. Rook a7, my king is coming now. King f2, rook f7, king f3. My idea is to go king g4, king h5. Now you played knight d7, a very interesting trick. It looks like I should go king g4, but there is something wrong with this king g4, which you can pause the video and try to find why not king g4. Well, the thing is that after king g4, opponent prepared for me f5, very strong move. f5 check, I should take, otherwise if I go king h5, I'm getting knight f6 checkmate. And after ef5, his idea is to play knight f6 check, and after king h3 or king f3, just g4. And now I have two pawns queen against opponent rook and knight, but the thing is fortress. He just played rook f8, rook f7, rook f8, rook f7, just wait, and I cannot do anything because here I have 2 pawns, but it's blocked with just pawn, and rook and knight is blocking these 2 post pawns. And here rook f8, rook f7, or even rook d7, rook f7, no way to break through this position. That's why after knight d7 I played queen b5 first. My idea is to bring queen f5 and then go king g4, king h5. And if f5, now it's not with check, so f5 I will play e5, e5, e6, and this I will win. So king h7, opponent waited for me, check, king g4, rook a7, king h5, knight f8, and queen c5 here. Idea is I'm attacking the rook on a7, and if rook f7, opponent continue to wait passively for me. I play queen b6 and next move e5 and breaking this fortress, because if fe6 I take queen h6 check and queen g5, I'm taking all his pawns here. And here opponent played knight g6, a very tricky move. The idea is if I go f5, attacking the knight on g6, and he cannot move because I will take the e7 rook. He plays here rook e5. With tempo, attacking my queen on c5, and after check, he go back or he just go knight e7 even. And again looks a fortress. I cannot break this position because I have no anymore this e5 trick. But after knight g6, I have e5 here, a very strong move. e5 breakthrough right now. The idea is that after fe5, I play f5, attacking the knight on g6, and there is no more rook e5 because the pawn is there. So f5, opponent loses material. If after e5, if you play rook f7, just e6, e6 and f5, then I'm winning again because of this strong pawn on e6. And after gf4, as my opponent played, I take e6 with check. He should take king f6 and king h6. So my king is there, so I broke his fortress. And his problem, he cannot take my pawn because after queen g5 check, he is losing the knight. He played rook e6. I still should be very careful because if his king goes, let's say g8, knight on e7, rook put on g6, it will be fortress again. So I need to use my king on h6 and not let opponent to put his king on g8. So g4, keeping this pawn on f4, because after g4 somewhere maybe I will take this f4 pawn for free. Knight e5, queen d4, pinning the knight on e5, not allowing knight g4 check, and with tempo I attack f4 pawn. King f7, king h7, important move, not allowing opponent to go king g8, rook e7, and I take opponent's second pawn. Queen f4, king e6. King h6. I still should be careful, not allow my opponent to play some rook g7, somewhere rook g7, rook g6. But the thing is still, even if you put here, because I have here 2 pawns, let's say his rook on g6, I can give queen f5 check, and then give my queen to knight and rook, and I will win this pawn game with 2 pawns. So the position is lost here for my opponent. Rook f7 was played, queen a4, queen a4. This is nice because somewhere I will have queen b3 check or queen e8 check. Otherwise, if I play queen e4, I have no check anymore next move, because knight is protecting all the squares that I can give check. So queen a4, rook f6 check, king h5, rook f8, queen b3 check. With checks now, my opponent is losing something. Here, if king e7, it's coming queen b4 check. And now, if king f7, queen f4 check. And now king should go somewhere and give the knight or rook one of them. And after queen b4 check, if king e8, then queen b8 check. And next move, I take opponent knight on e5. So after queen b3, king f6 check, but then g5 check, king g7, queen b7 check. And if king g8, I'm playing here g6, and then this checkmate is coming, or queen d5 check, and I'm winning the knight on e5, because if knight f7, g6, this is pin, so I'm winning the knight on f7. And after g5, king g7, queen b7, if knight f7, then queen b2 check, king g8, g6, knight moves somewhere, and then king h6, he had no time for fortress. So I played rook f7, queen b2, pinning the knight on e5, rook e7, g6. The idea is that after rook e6, I just play king g5, king g5, king f5, and then I give queen e5. I give my queen to rook and knight, and then I win a pawn game with g2 pawn. It's very important that my pawn is on g2, not on g4. Otherwise, my opponent could make a position. So g6, king f6 he played, not allowing me king g5, king f5 idea, but then after king f6, king h6 is coming. Again, I'm using this pin, he cannot take it, and after king f5, g7, g7, g8 is coming, knight g4 check, king h5. Now g8 queen is coming, if rook e8, queen b5 check, and I take the rook on e8, and if knight f6, I take queen f6, and I go g8 queen, or even g8 knight, and next move I take it, and then I win pawn game. No opposition here. So it was a very important moment, this, when after, this moment, after knight g6, it was very critical moment it was to play here e5 and to make a breakthrough of this fortress. Otherwise, if I play somewhere f5 or I change these pawns, it will be just fortress. He will play rook e5, rook e7. So e5 idea was very important resource, e5, and breaking here opponent fortress. So, takeaway of this game. First of all, interesting moment it was in the opening. Bishop d3, knight c6, one after knight f3, knight b4, knight c3. After knight d3, I took instead of queen, I took c d3. This is some kind of improvisation. Very interesting, but deep idea. It's all to play against bishop on c8. But whenever you take something like this, you have double pawns. You should really know that there are some compensation. Otherwise, don't do this. It's maybe problem in future. This was something interesting because I'm playing against bishop on c8. And the biggest takeaway of this game, it's how to play against opponents who are strong, like my opponent, Hambleton, very strong grandmaster, but because he's not doing great in the tournament, and also he had a problem with time management, he was thinking a lot, and it's natural because when someone is playing not good, he's losing confidence and starting to think more and more. Always there will be time trouble. So give opponent option. From the opening, avoid any opening confrontation. Just go to the long game, long game, where opponent will have lots of options. Will have he will need to think a lot where to go, and eventually, because he's not doing good, he in the tournament he will make some mistakes. Of course, it was not that okay, this is rule opponent should make mistake. He's still grandmaster, but there is more chance that he will do some mistakes than not. Otherwise, in any other circumstances, if I played against this strong opponent on Hambleton any other tournament, I would not do this. I would just play normal chess because I know my opponent is strong. But when opponent is not doing great in the tournament and is having a problem with time management, so you should go always to such a long game, and then something will happen, as here happened in the game. There was coming a long game when my opponent played here in this position c5, trying finally to change all these pieces and make some draw, but then there was problem with knight d4 move which he missed, and then e6 square pawn, he was losing material. That's it. I hope it was very useful for you, and you will use in future this cd3 interesting idea in your games. Jim was with you. If you have any questions, just put them under the in the comment section. I will try to answer all of them. Take care.